Stark, Mark Graham, Eric Pedigo, and Nick Orelli are standing by to take your phone calls at 529-1450.
Good morning. Welcome to Fantasy Football 101 on Sports Radio 1450 and on the web at sportsradio1450.com. You can also find us on Facebook and check us out on the Dublin Pub webcam. And as always, you can email us, fantasyfootball101 at gmx.com. 529-1450 is the phone number. Adam Stark, Eric Pedigo, Mark Graham, and Nick Orelli getting set to take your phone calls, talking fantasy football. Week 2 already in the NFL football season. Lots to talk about today. We'll tell you who to sit, who to play, who to add, or who to drop. We'll also bring you an updated injury report. We'll bring you our studs, duds, and sleepers for the week. And if there's time, I'd like to talk a little trade bait. Last week, the offenses were down a little bit. We'll talk about that as well. Vincent Jackson has a little bit of a settlement. We'll talk about that and see if and when you can put Vincent Jackson on your squad. And I also want to throw out a stat for you guys out there just in case, because, you know, I talk to friends and family, and not everyone gets into the fantasy football, but I thought I'd throw a stat out there for you guys to kick off the show. The Fantasy Sports Trade Association reports that there are 30 million fantasy football players in the U.S. and Canada. That is up 54% from just 2 years ago. So
that's hardcore.
That's 30. Yeah, there's 30 million other people out there just like us guys. So, so we should be able to take plenty of phone calls. 529-1450 is the phone number, and apparently we already have one.
Yes.
Good morning. You're on Fantasy Football 101. Go ahead.
I got 3 running backs.
All right.
Thomas, Frank Gore, and Brandon Jackson. I'd like to know who you guys would start. Thanks.
Thank you.
What was the first one?
It was Pierre Thomas, Frank Gore, and Brandon Jackson. All good plays. And we'd like to remind callers that when you call in, let us know if you play in a PPR league or not. That's point per reception. That is that's crucial in a lot of these decisions.
Sure.
But well, Mark, what do you like in this one?
Frank Gore. I'd go with that. One thing, people have to calm down.
2 or
on
3, probably.
I would go with Gore and Thomas. Brandon Jackson, people need to calm down on him. Yeah, he's taking over for Ryan Grant. Let's wait and see what he does before we get too excited about him. He's an okay back, nothing special. I'd go with Gore and Thomas.
I'm with you, and I actually like Brandon Jackson this week at home against Buffalo. I think he could have a nice game, but I don't think it's worth taking out a guy like Pierre Thomas or Frank Gore to plug him in. These are 2 guys that you know are going to come in and produce for you. So I don't see taking either one of those guys out to start Brandon Jackson. But I do like Brandon Jackson this week.
I had so many questions.
50 yards, and that's it.
I had so many questions on Brandon Jackson the last 3 days. I about ready to just put a brick through the computer.
Okay.
Calm down, people. It's a good matchup against Buffalo, but let's just wait and see.
Buffalo not bad against the run, though. And the other side, though, is that Frank Gore didn't do a whole lot last week. I was shocked to see that. But this week, you're playing the Saints. You might be playing from behind. I don't know that Gore is an excellent play this week. I might go Brandon Jackson over Frank Gore, but Pierre definitely has to be in your lineup.
See, if it's me,
so if you're starting one of the 3, you got to go Pierre.
Yeah.
After starting 2, to me, it's a tough call, Gore over Jackson, honestly.
I just don't think you ever take out Frank Gore if you have him on your team. That's most likely your number 1 pick, maybe your number 2 if you're in kind of a smaller league. But to me, he's a guy you never take out no matter what, because he's always got that threat of just going off and getting you 30 points. And even if they are playing from behind against New Orleans, not a lot of running backs catch balls out of the backfield as well as Frank Gore. But a lot of quarterbacks throw balls better than Alex Smith.
True that. 529-1450 is the phone number, 529-1450. And since we're already talking about him, Ryan Grant is out, Brandon Jackson in. That was the big pickup this week. The second biggest pickup, I think, was Michael Vick, if he wasn't already picked up in other leagues. But Kevin Kolb is out, and Michael Vick is in his first start since December of 2006.
Wow.
What do you guys think about having Michael Vick as your starter on your fantasy football squad?
I think this week it's probably a good play. Just this week. Going forward, I still think Kevin Kolb's the guy that Philadelphia is going to try to go with. But right now, while he's out, and who's their man?
Detroit.
Yeah, they're playing Detroit this week. Vick's a nice play. He's going to get you yards on the ground. He'll throw for over 100, probably connect for a touchdown. So
Vic couldn't have asked for a better first week opponent.
yeah,
But I'm like you, play him this week, and then don't get too crazy from there on.
And it all worked out for Vic, too. I remember when we talked when he first signed with the Eagles, why is he backing to McNabb, kind of the same type of player? And then Call comes in, and he looks good. But now Vic, right where he needs to be. 529-1450 is the phone number. Let's take another phone call. Good morning. Nope. Aw. Good afternoon. Also, some other injuries out there. Matt Stafford is out, and that puts Sean Hill in. I don't think he's worth playing. And then you had a move. Maroney was moved to the Broncos. Still listed as questionable, so still probably not someone you want on your roster. All right, we got that caller back. 529-1450 is the phone number. Good morning. You're on Fantasy Football 101. Go ahead.
Good morning.
Morning.
Non-PPR.
thank you.
Kind of a good problem to have, I guess, but I have to sit one of these four: Ray Rice, Frank Gore, Steven Jackson, and Foster. It was an 8-team league, so
nice.
I took running backs in the first 3 rounds, and I'd like to play all of them, but I got to sit somebody.
Oh, you see, I'm not sure it's that good of a problem to have, actually, because
It's a frustrating one.
yeah, you know what I mean. A lot of people think, oh, I got this great problem. I got all these guys, but there's a good chance that whoever you sit out is going to outscore one of the guys you left in. I mean, no matter what you do, it's going to be hard to just pick the top 3 out of 4 studs like that. So, boy, it's hard. You can't bench Arian Foster after last week, can you? No way.
No, you got to run with him now until he comes back to earth.
Steven Jackson's at Oakland. He seems like he'd be a nice play.
Jackson's got the knee problem, though,
Yeah.
too.
I might sit Steven Jackson, go Rice, Gore, and Foster. That's just me. I would probably change my lineup about 5 times before kickoff. But right now, initially, I'm looking at it saying, I'd sit Steven Jackson maybe.
I'd have to go with you on that only because I'd like to see how the knee is, and Oakland is not all that horrible a defense at home, so I think that'd be the way I'd go too.
Well, caller did say non-PPR though, right?
Correct.
So that takes away a little bit from Ray Rice's value, even though he only caught 2 balls last week. He figures to catch more. It might take away from Frank Gore's value a little bit. Well, I guess and even Steven Jackson, all those guys catch passes. So I'd go Rice, Gore, Foster, and keep my fingers crossed.
But still a good problem to have, or a bad problem.
Yeah,
to have.
it's a tough
Either
problem
way,
to have.
it's a problem that it's okay to have. Anyway,
Yeah.
if you don't have those 4 guys, then you have a bigger problem.
Better than having none of those guys. Absolutely.
529-1450 is the phone number. Let's take another one. Good morning. You're on Fantasy Football 101. Go ahead. Turn your radio down, please.
Yep, got it.
All right.
Okay,
It's you, buddy. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have Brandon Jacobs. And just as a bench player, I want to see what your guys' opinion is of him. I just kind of want to drop him, but I just can't drop him yet. I don't know what else out there to pick up, but he is literally like no good.
Oh, wow.
And my second part of my question is, would you play Tim Hightower ahead of Steven Jackson or Ronnie Brown?
All right. Thanks for the phone call. That's a good question. 529-1450 is the phone number. Obviously, it's week 1, so don't just throw Brandon Jacobs back in the mix.
No.
Hold on to him for right now. But I understand why you don't like him. I have a couple of guys on my squad like that, too. But, yeah, Hightower, interesting question. I do like Hightower this week. The only other problem is Beanie Wells going to be back? And 100%, it doesn't seem like it, but you just don't know. He's not listed as questionable this week. Beanie Wells could actually play.
You sure? Beanie's
what I
not
saw.
questionable?
I saw that he had a P by his name.
Okay. Well, I own him in several leagues, and I did hear there was some swelling after their last practice. So if they do use him, it will be limited. Hightower should still be the guy there this week in Arizona. But it was over who now? Ronnie Brown or who?
Steven Jackson.
Steven Jackson. There we go again, Steven Jackson. I like him better than Ronnie Brown this week at Minnesota. That's a tough call, though, Steven Jackson at Oakland. I don't know if I would start Hightower over Steven Jackson. Mark, save me.